to me. I'm amazed by the generosity. Because of them, Lake youth receive resources and positive relationships to become educated leaders. Find out more at lakechildrensfoundation.com.
970 WDAY AM and 93.1 FM, Fargo-Moorhead.
Welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for rejoining us on this Tuesday afternoon. 103 in the afternoon, 19 degrees outside Fargo. It was a little windy out there earlier today, but those winds starting to settle down as well. I'm meteorologist Justin Storm with Ag Director Bridgette Readel and Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki. And good afternoon, guys. How was your holiday weekend? Did you enjoy it? Dean, I think I heard that you were a little under the weather.
I was sick
correct?
in bed for 2 days. So yeah, I wasn't the best, but I'll tell you what. About 30 hours of sleep in 2 days. Whew, I feel better now.
Oh, I bet. Bridgette, how was your weekend?
Well, I'm just thinking that Dean slept through all of the good times while the rest of us were out racing around to beat storms to get to Grandma's house and over the hill and through the dale, wherever it was we were going. So good for you, Dean.
I guess, yeah. Justin, how about you? Your little one's first Christmas?
Yes, it was. It was a little low-key. We were originally planning on heading to my parents' place in central Minnesota, but we decided not to with the shiny interstates, as my friends would call it, because it's just a sheet of ice. So we decided not to. We spent Christmas over at the in-laws for a few hours, had some lunch, and yeah, he did well. He enjoyed his first Christmas, and it was good.
Good.
Yeah, I was glad. But we got some fun things on the show today. Bridgette, are you going to add something there?
Oh, I was just going to mention the fact that first Christmas, so far he's kind of immobile. Just wait till next year he can ransack your Christmas tree. So that's a Christmas you'll remember.
Oh, we can't wait. It'll be very fun. But fun things on the show today, guys. We're going to have Gerry Kulzer on the show with us. He's the Culver. Thinking of Culvers. I got burgers on the mind. I'm hungry. It's lunchtime. The butter sculptor for the Minnesota Dairy Princess competition that goes on, and we're gonna Bridgette, do you want to explain a little bit more about Gerry?
Sure.
So I think you got a little more info than I do.
Okay, so Gerry is the guy who every year when Princess K of the Milky Way is crowned, that's the Minnesota State Dairy Princess, he is the one who takes the 90-pound chunk of butter and carves her head out of it. And he does that every year for the princesses. I think it's a fairly long and intensive process, and I can't hardly wait to see how he starts planning that out. Where do you go when starting to carve butter? But we'll figure that out very soon. And I know we'll have some things that we want to talk about. Dean, you brought up an article that you saw earlier today about what the forecast is for the ag economy for 2023. And so we're going to want to touch on that as well. And we're going to do that, folks, after we return. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
From ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. The Transportation Department is taking a much closer look at all the continued problems for people who booked flights on Southwest Airlines over Christmas weekend and are still stranded. Southwest has canceled 60% of its flights today already as it struggles to catch up. ABC's Alex Perez is at O'Hare Airport in Chicago.
It does not seem that this debacle is going to be over anytime soon. Southwest right now is in the process of sort of hitting Control Alt Delete, resetting all of its operations, moving planes to get them in position, moving crews, in some cases even moving empty planes to get them in position. But when exactly everything will be back to normal, that could still be several days away.
More snow on the way for Buffalo, New York. The city's still struggling to get out from under 4 feet that it received over the weekend. ABC's Mona Kosar-Abdi is there.
I'm on Niagara Street, one of the main streets in downtown Buffalo. And while a driving ban is in effect, there are more cars on the road this morning. There is only one lane open in both directions, and drivers and snowplows that are trying to go down this road are having to navigate around cars that have been here since before Christmas.
As Ukrainian troops move back to take a key city in the Luhansk region, the country's ambassador is urging the United Nations to set up peace talks in Kyiv. ABC's Britt Clennett.
On the diplomatic front, Kyiv says it aims to hold a peace summit by the end of February, while Ukraine is pushing for Russia to be removed as a permanent member of the UN Security Council. Yuri Lutsenko, who is leading the charge, telling us here in Kyiv that world peace and world security is at stake.
South Korea responding after its military detected 5 North Korean drones entering its airspace. The move coming after North Korea fired 2 more short-range ballistic missiles in South Korea's direction. Checking the markets, the Dow is up 58 points this hour. You're listening to ABC News.
Eric was way behind on his taxes.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000. I tried to make payments.
The IRS wasn't satisfied with Eric's efforts, so they came after him full force.
They're coming to put a lien and a hold on all my income, my home, my car. I was just overwhelmed at what to do.
Then Eric called Optima Tax Relief.
When Optima Tax got involved, the calls would stop, the threats would stop. It was easy like 1, 2, 3.
Optima Tax Relief is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and their team of expert tax professionals took care of Eric's problem.
I owe $15,000, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything.
Take Eric's advice.
If you have a tax problem, you need to call Optima Tax now.
Call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Find trustworthy car repair.
Okay, here's what I found.
Hi, I'm Matthew, owner of Fix It Forward Auto Care. We're confident that we can handle whatever your vehicle needs. From hybrid cars to full-size trucks, no job is too big or too small for our ASE certified technicians. We focus on quality, integrity, and giving back to the community at each of our 3 Fargo, Moorhead, and West Fargo locations. Fix It Forward Auto Care, the name you trust for car repair.
Fix It Forward Auto Care.
North Dakota is a special place.
Oil and gas supports more than 60,000 jobs in the state of North Dakota.
And the industry is vital to our economy, adding nearly $4 billion in state and local tax revenues.
Why would we buy oil from dictators when we have it right here? We produce it the cleanest, the greenest of anywhere in the world.
Keep creating great jobs, and right here in North Dakota.
We support North Dakota oil and gas.
Paid for by American Experiment, North Dakota. AmericanExperimentND.org.
The news is brought to you by the North Dakota oil and natural gas industry, advancing the possibilities. Learn more at ndpetroleumfoundation.org.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. We want to thank you for joining us. I'm sure a lot of people still have a little vacation, probably using this week as some time off. And boy, I'll tell you, if you like to ski, the Rockies are just going to get pounded with snow here over the next week to 10 days. So you might want to take a little ski trip out west, even locally. I mean, some great skiing conditions out at Detroit Lakes, at Detroit Mountain. So beautiful.
What about Fargo Ski Resort?
They're open, but limited ski runs.
I see.
Are you talking about that big snow pile? Are you talking about that big snow pile right in our backyard here? Yeah, that's open.
Yeah, that one I'm talking about.
But I mean, even if the kids got sleds for Christmas, I mean, the weather is a lot more tolerable this week as we finally break the back of that Arctic air mass that's been stuck in place, and we'll finally see temperatures in the 20s throughout much of this week. Might even squeak in a few low 30s tomorrow, but 20s, that's about where we should be for this time of the year. So this is more tolerable for the kids who are, off of school. They can go out and enjoy the winter weather out there for sure. So we'll stick, and no big storms. And I had a few people ask me, I don't know why they'd be mad after what we've been through, but they were following they were following the LRC calendar, and they said, well, wait a minute, you've got something penciled in for this week right before New Year's. What happened? I said, well,
there's something there.
It's there. It's kind of splitting into 2 pieces and mainly going south of us. It'll stay to our south. So, I wanted to email back. Why are you mad? You should be happy. We're getting missed finally.
You said this is what it was gonna be. You said it. You gave your word, and now you're changing it. And what if somebody changed those plans to Grandma's house based on your information, guys?
I'm looking at the calendar right now. It says potential big storm.
Yes, potential.
Ah, yes. Words matter.
Yeah. Now there will be a couple more storms rolling through next week that we'll keep an eye on. But again, those, in the first cycle, those storms kind of went south. And could it happen again? They very well may go south of us next week as well. But we'll have to wait and see. But I think the key word is much more tolerable winter cold, with temperatures for the most part over the next week or so hanging in the 20s, and that's much better. I mean, the stuff we had over Christmas and prior to Christmas, it was just, that's too cold. Too cold for too early in the season. Too cold for any time in the season. But man, it was. But we got through it.
As an avid walker, I will tell you it's more of an obstacle course these days. I was out with my snowshoes yesterday, and because the trail is low maintenance, right? It's the middle of winter.
Right.
I can say it was about knee deep for me. So there's a lot of fresh snow out there. It's very soft. This warm up into the 20s might actually give us kind of that ice coating on the top that'll make it a little easier to walk across the top of it, but we'll see. You got to go up and down a lot of piles of snow to get where you're going these days.
That's got to be a good workout too.
Oh, I'm sure that it is. But the other nice thing about the nice temperatures, we're going to be melting some of the ice off the roads.
Yes,
we will.
Because there's too much ice on the roads. Man, I've never seen the roads this bad for so long. They're getting better, but I mean, it's been like 2 weeks and they're still icy.
Yeah.
I still refer to the highway by my house as a rutted goat path, and it's not wrong.
Yeah, it's a rumble strip, the whole thing.
The whole thing.
But that, like you
terrible.
said, that will be getting better, and we'll kind of dive into the national forecast at the end of right before the end of our show. But short term, it really does look pretty decent this week. No big storms in sight, and pretty quiet weather right up to New Year's Eve. So that's good news for any holiday travelers. I know a lot of people leaving next week, going down to Frisco for the big game, and we'll kind of touch on.
But there's a big game?
Yeah, there's a big game next.
What game is it?
January 8th, buddy. The Bison are playing.
Justin,
is that the Super Bowl?
Justin, I think Justin can hear me roll my eyes.
Those UND.
I could hear it.
Those UND people, I'm telling you. Oh man.
Oh man. Well, why don't we do a quick ag topic here? I know that this is something that we've kind of been aware of. Everyone from California is kind of bailing out of California for whatever reasons, but now the farmers are following them too. Bridgette, what's going on? Farmers are leaving California.
Okay, so here's where I need your opinion, you guys, because one of the things that's happening is Northern California looks to be in a D4 exceptional drought area because of watering restrictions, where that may be for irrigating corn for silage feed, or it's also affecting just the amount of water that you can give to your dairy herd. You're seeing dairy farmers who are starting to move eastward into the mid-states of the U.S. They're doing that because they're closer to other foodstuffs, such as corn, soybeans, etc., also closer to some of their processing. No doubt that there are dairy processing places in the state of California, but there are more here in the traditional Midwest. So the big question would be, is California truly in a drought system out there? Have you guys been watching what's going on in the state of, especially Northern California? And if so, any idea with the snowfall that you're talking about that's impacting the Rockies, the Sierras, etc., will any of that help to change the situation on the coasts, not just what happens in those mountains, but just storms in general? Are they bringing a lot of moisture in?
They are, Bridgette, and the good news is it looks like we're going to flip the switch into El Nino over the next 3 months. So now how strong that is, we'll have to wait and see. But not all El Ninos, but typically when you have El Nino seasons, you get onshore moisture coming into California. Now sometimes that leads to a lot of flooding in California, but it typically leads to wetter conditions. So that should start to unfold here as we head into 2023. Fingers crossed, that's the way it looks.
Yeah,
that would be great.
It still looks like a good portion of California is in that exceptional or extreme drought category, and that as well in the central U.S., but it does appear like that is improving. That drought situation has been shrinking, and we're starting to see more water in those areas as well. And I know we got to hit another break here, but before we do, we're kind of on the topic of dairy farms and everything, and there was a previous email or someone called in last week, and they had a question about dumping milk. Bridgette, do you have any update on that?
Well, I think that's going to take a little bit longer, and we're going to want to touch on that after we visit with our guest today, because there are several reasons why dairy farmers, especially in southwest Minnesota, were dumping milk over the holiday weekend. Has a lot to do with all those storms that the LRC predicted and what's happening. So let's talk through those points after we've had a little chance to catch up with our guest for today. How's that sound, Justin?
Hey, that sounds good to me. So stay tuned. Weather and Ag in Focus. We'll be right back.
You wash your hands, you brush your teeth, but how do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, flushing out allergens, mucus, and germs. And it's why cleaning your nose, the body's air filter, is the next evolution in daily personal hygiene. Navage helps you breathe better, sleep deeper, and snore less, but the biggest payoff is improved health. At Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
Here's to Prilosec OTC. Without Prilosec, I wouldn't be able to enjoy all this yummy holiday food. Speaking of, whoever made that apple pie, delicious. I just take one pill each morning and zero heartburn all day. So cheers to Prilosec OTC. Ooh, are those jalapeno poppers?
Prilosec OTC prevents excess acid that can cause heartburn, so you can enjoy the holidays. One pill a day, 24 hours, zero heartburn. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
Hey y'all, this is your girl Cheryl Underwood, and I want to tell you something. My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but those days are over. Now I feel great. That's because I increased my fiber intake with the Metamucil 2-week challenge, and I'm still hooked. I just took Metamucil every day for 14 days, and it's really that easy. Metamucil traps and removes the waste that weighs you down, so you feel lighter and more energetic. Now I never want to go back to that heavy feeling. Are you ready for the Metamucil 2-week challenge? For a coupon and daily support, sign up at Metamucil.com today.
Your new one-stop shop for the latest in news, weather, sports, and community happenings is WDAYRadioNow.com. Stay up to date online, on your phone, on the go. Interviews with newsmakers, all your favorite local shows on demand for those days when you don't want to miss anything. Get your forecasts so you're always in the know when it comes to the weather, and find information on our shows and personalities. If it's happening now, it's happening on WDAYRadioNow.com. That's WDAYRadioNow.com.
Children who grow up in poverty are part of a destructive cycle. Childhood poverty creates adult poverty, creates childhood poverty, and on and on. And this is a relentless cycle. Worldwide, millions of children live in extreme poverty. At Child Fund International, we find this unacceptable. So we do all we can. In 25 countries, we are vigorously fighting poverty and improving the lives of over 11 million children and their families. Our programs support early childhood development and children's health and education. And we help strengthen the economic security of families. Childhood poverty creates adult poverty, creates childhood poverty. But at Child Fund International, we are committed to breaking this destructive cycle. Today's childhood poverty must not become tomorrow's. Learn more at childfund.org.
Pucklet Chevrolet Buick GMC in Valley City makes it easy to find your next Chevrolet Buick GMC or pre-owned vehicle by offering a great selection at our best prices possible.
And welcome to WDAY Radio. This is Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Bridgette Readel, Ag Director, along with our meteorologist, Chief Dean Wysocki, and Justin Storm, who has spent most of December living up to his name, storm after storm after storm. Thanks so much.
Indeed.
Really appreciate
You're
that.
very welcome. I appreciate you thanking me. Most people just send me
Anytime.
hate emails.
I will try to stop using all my anonymous accounts and sending those to you. Got it. Okay.
Oh, that's you. Oh, okay.
So today we have our guest, and that is Gerry Kulzer. Gerry is the sculptor who is famous for many things, but one of them, and the reason we wanted to talk to him, is he sculpts the Princess K of the Milky Way sculptures for the Minnesota State Fair. Hello, Gerry. How are you today?
I'm very good.
This is going to be great fun. I didn't think that your life was only butter sculpting, so tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and how you got to all the things that you do.
Well, I'm a father of five. I have a normal job teaching art at Eden Valley Watkins Schools. I teach 7th through 12th art there. I enjoy sculpting, and that's what really brought me into this butter sculpting position. It was just a sort of a natural extension of what I enjoy doing. I enjoy doing portraits of people, and so it kind of fell right into it.
So how do you start? I'm going to just envision you unwrap a giant block of butter in a cooler somewhere. Kind of, what's this all about? And how long does it take you to get this type of thing done?
Well, the butter booth at the State Fair is a refrigerated, glass enclosed area. The Princess K of the Milky Way, and the 10 finalists get their heads sculpted in butter. So they're sitting in this booth, and it slowly rotates as I work. So I get to talk to these princesses all day long. We start at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I start by basically cutting off big chunks of butter because it's a large block. It's a 90-pound block of butter. And so I start by cutting off the corners and just rounding it out a little bit, blocking it out, and having a great conversation all day.
And Gerry, you got to ask, so what happens with all the leftover butter? What happens with all that?
All the scraps the princess gets to take home. So everything that I cut off while I'm sculpting, I put into 5-gallon pails. There's about 2 5-gallon pails. Now there's a lot of air in there because they're big chunks of butter sometimes. But they get to take those pails home with them that day. And then after the fair, they get their 90-pound block of butter, that portrait. They get to take that home too. And it ends up in freezers sometimes. Sometimes it ends up being used for community events, all sorts of different things.
And how long does it take?
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing. How long does it take?
Well, if I could, I would love to work for 2 weeks on a portrait, but there's a time limit here. We're doing one portrait a day. So actually, Princess K of the Milky Way, I get to work on her for two days, the first 2 days of the fair, because of all the media interviews with, they're curious. They want to talk to the new Princess K. And so I get 2 days for her, but then the rest of them, one a day. And that's, as far as the actual hours, it's about 6 hours of work.
So I can see on our.
I'm as far as tools go, I'm using the same tools that I would use for sculpting clay. I use clay tools. Now, those tools that I use at the butter booth are exclusively used for butter. I don't bring them home to my studio and use them in my studio. but they're the same tools. I have a wood knife. One of the greatest tools I have is the big butcher knife that Linda Christensen, my predecessor, gave to me. She kind of handed me the baton, and I've been using that now for blocking out large shapes in the beginning of each sculpture.
So when you're doing this, Gerry, I see the pictures that we've been showing on screen. Y'all are wearing coveralls and caps and gloves. How cold is it in the cooler for you to be in there for 6 or more hours a day?
If we had a day like 40 degrees, we'd think it's awesome. It's really warm right now. But that's the temperature in the butter booth. We try to keep it about 40 degrees to keep the butter food safe. And sitting out there at 40 degrees is not so bad, but after a while, it sort of sinks in. And so my fingers are the thing that really gets cold. I wear 2 layers of gloves, but at the same time, I'm touching that cold block of butter. The coolness just goes right through the gloves. My hands get kind of stiff at the end.
And Gerry, Gerry, you said you like sculpting, and Minneapolis is known for their ice parade, and they have their ice sculptures. Have you ever done any ice sculpturing?
I have not, no. And honestly, I don't want to.
That's too cold, huh?
That's too cold, right.
So when I think about the intricacies of you carving the faces of these girls, As a female, I know that sometimes hairstyles can be fairly elaborate. Do you dictate to them, no, today's a straight hair day, let's not do all the fancy curls and things, because that just complicates what you're doing for sculpture?
No, I don't dictate. I suggest. No, no. It's interesting because straight hair is so much easier, and when we're on such a strict timeline of 6 to 8 hours, it makes it easy if they have straight hair. But in fact, last year one of the princesses said, "I made this specially for you," and it was curly and it was up in a little bun in the back, sort of, tied back. The sides were tied back. It was a lot of extra work, but it's so fun. It's such a great challenge to have something different every day. It's different, and that's one thing I love about it.
And what happens if you do like a little oops? I mean, can you just throw butter back on there and kind of mold it back over like clay, or do you have to start over with a new block of butter? And if you can fix it, have there been any times where you've had to just kind of start over because you just kind of made a little oops? Yeah,
the butter is very much like clay, and if the butter is at like 50, between 50 or 60 degrees, it's just like clay. You can scoop it off and squish it back on. In the 40-degree environment that I'm in, it's a little more difficult to add butter if I take too much off, but I can. I mean, I can, if you press a little bit more pressure on it, it'll stick, but not exactly like clay. So I've never had a huge mistake. Sometimes I take a little bit too much off the chin or too much off the cheeks, and I have to add a little bit more here and there. But I've never had a huge accident that I have to start over. Thank goodness.
I see. And how long have you been doing this for again?
I worked with Linda Christensen, apprenticed with her for 2 years. I did it last year as the exclusive butter sculptor. So it's been 3 or 4 years. Well, including my audition, it's been 4 years that I've been playing with butter.
Oh, great. That sounds awesome. Well, we're speaking with Gerry Kulzer, the butter sculptor for the Minnesota Dairy Princesses. And if you have a question you'd like to ask Gerry, feel free to do so. Give us a call at 701-293-9000. Again, our phone numbers are 701-293-9000. We're going to hit bottom of the hour here, so stay tuned because we'll continue our conversation with Gerry when Weather and Ag in Focus returns.
Save now on premium mattresses, pillows, bases, and linens at Accord Comfort Sleep Systems directly across from Olive Garden. Find the best mattress design and construction with our exclusive technologies such as our Accord Comfort Reflex Layer, ensuring proper spinal alignment. Our Thermodyne climate control fabric is perfect for the couple sleeping hot and cold. Buy today and take it home today, or free delivery in the FM metro area. Accord Comfort Sleep Systems. You're going to love sleeping with us.
Planning one's own funeral or that of a loved one can be overwhelming and costly, not to mention extremely emotional. Hi, I'm Craig, owner of West Funeral Home and Life Tribute Center. At West Funeral Home, our staff will educate and prepare you for this journey and work with you to create a meaningful and healing experience, serving the Valley for 4 generations and over 100 years.
West Funeral Home and Life Tribute Center, little things make the difference.
It's the first unlimited full-service and exterior works wash club at Don's Car Washes. You can have the best of both worlds with unlimited interior and exterior washes at the Don's on 13th Avenue and unlimited exterior washes at the Don's on 52nd Avenue. Truly unlimited washes for only $49.99 per month. Join Don's Unlimited Wash Club. Exterior unlimited washes starting as low as $19.99 per month. It's never been easier to put a smile on your car at Don's Car Washes.
What do you tell folks when they ask who your insurance agent is and why?
DJ's great. His practice has been not just an insurance agent, but also there's a friendship there. They are very open about their communications with their clients. They want to do everything they can to help their clients. I've got multiple policies with him: auto, home, life insurance, an umbrella policy. anything and everything you need insurance-wise, you can get from DJ Kulzer Insurance.
DJ Kulzer, American Family Insurance, 235-6641, djkulzer.com.
When it's time to build outside the box, build with Thor.
Stan, my mother's coming to stay with us indefinitely.
I need a space for the boys. Where can we watch the big screen, play cards, eat wings, drink, and work?
Stan, there's no room in the garage for my garden tools.
Need more space, whether it's a granny flat, a man cave, a decked out shop condo, or a she shed, or a horse barn. They've gotten creative when it comes to thinking outside the box. Thor Buildings at thorbuildings.com.
What do you call a place that feels like home every time you walk in? A place with plenty of TVs to watch a Saturday or Sunday game and still be able to carry on a conversation. It's known for delicious lunch specials, soups, and appetizers made from scratch every day. We call it Midtown Tavern, where they don't skimp on food or drinks anytime. Head to Midtown and enjoy Wednesday wine night, live music nights, and Dwayne's Pizza any day of the week. That's Midtown Tavern, Highway 10 East in Moorhead. See Facebook for specials, watch parties, and live music.
The North Dakota State College of Science Apprenticeship Program is having an open house. This event allows you to meet and greet with leaders and program specialists to learn more about how apprenticeships can help you develop and grow a highly skilled workforce. There are opportunities in numerous fields, and North Dakota State College of Science works with you to create your customized training solution. Attend the open house Thursday, January 12th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. at 1305 19th Avenue North in Fargo. The North Dakota State College of Science Apprenticeship Open House. Thursday, January 12th, 4:30 to 6 p.m. Your friends at Satram Hyam Seed would like to say, may the new year find you and your family enjoying good health, happiness, peace, and the best of everything else life has to offer. Thanking you for your business in 2022, they look forward to working with you again. See Satram for all your seed requirements and sales and service as well. Proudly serving area farmers since 1978. A name you've grown to trust. Happy New Year from Satram Hyam Seed, Page, North Dakota.
Welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus here on WDAY Radio. I'm Bridgette, Readel, Ag Director, along with our meteorology staff, Dean Wysocki, who's chief, and Justin Storm, who's just an extraordinaire. But he's going to be chief one day. How's that?
Hey, what?
We'll bring you right up.
That sounds good.
Does he?
Hey, he doesn't know yet.
Yeah.
He doesn't know.
You
Okay,
guys know
back to our guest.
Okay.
Back to the guest.
Oh, man.
This is why you guys shouldn't let me do the intro.
Yeah,
that's
right.
Why. But I do get to intro our guest today, and that is Gerry Kulzer. Gerry is the sculptor who does the Princess K of the Milky Way at the Minnesota State Fair. And he is tasked with doing butter sculptures of the Princess K, who is the state dairy princess from Minnesota, and her court, if you will. And so we've been asking Gerry all sorts of questions, and we've got some interesting ones. So one of the questions I wanted to ask is, when you're doing the sculpting, do the girls wear their crowns, or do you just have a butter crown standing by you can put on her head? How does that work?
No, when the girls are in the booth with me, they have their tiara on, and I usually don't sculpt that. At the end, when Princess K's bust portrait is finished, they put on a tiara on top of it. So I don't have to sculpt that, thank goodness.
And Gerry, and you don't have to name names if this actually did happen, but have you had any of the ladies say, I don't like the way that looks, can you do it again? Has that ever happened?
No, it hasn't. Not to me.
Okay, good.
I'm not sure. I've only been doing this for a few years, and so maybe that will happen in the future. But if I do a portrait for a client, I always leave that option open. I ask the client, I show them progress pictures. But with the deadlines, that would be a little difficult. And as far as the butter sculpting, everybody seems so happy, and they're just happy to be there, getting their likeness sculpted in butter, and it's just such a fun experience.
So, Gerry, when that's going on, do you get a crowd of spectators who are watching? Because y'all are in a glass rotating case. One, I'd be car sick, but two, do you have a lot of people watching while this is going on?
Yeah. I'm a teacher, and so having 30 students, watching me was always kind of fun. Now we have hundreds of people come through the dairy building at the state fair, and it's probably more like thousands of people coming through. Mm-hmm. And so every day, there's just a crowd gathered around. Last year, I talked to a person during my breaks. I go out and take a look from a distance so I can see the problems with the sculpture that I need to fix, and I talk with people. And one of the ladies that was there said, "I came to see so and so, this politician person, and you." And I was just so amazed and honored and humbled by her saying that she came just to see two people, and one of them was me. What a wonderful thing.
So, Gerry, how did you get involved in doing this? Is it because of your work in the past, teaching, etc.? Did you apply to be a part of it? I'm just curious what brought you into working with this particular medium.
Yeah, well, when back in the 90s, I loved sculpting, and that was before the internet. The only time you would see sculpture being made is if you'd knock on a sculptor's door and say, "Hey, can I watch what you're doing?" Well, the state fair had a sculptor sitting there every day, and I could watch the process as it evolved. And so that kind of perked my interest, and so years later I thought, that's something I really want to try, and contacted Midwest Dairy. They called me in, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago, said, "Are you still interested?" I said, yeah, that'd be fun. They called me in and gave me a big block of butter and some pictures of one of the Midwest Dairy workers, and said, "Well, go at it." see what happens. It was an audition, really. It was an audition. And so I spent 8 hours in their cooler, freezing to death, and I really didn't understand to take breaks and warm up, and so by the end my hand was cramping up. I just had to quit. But they liked what they saw, and they called me back the second year to work with Linda, and so apparently this was competitive, and there were other sculptors involved. But Linda and I worked on a sculpture in that back cooler, and she did one side. She said, "Here's how I do an eye," and then I did an eye like she did, and here's how I treat the mouth. So I did the second part of the mouth, and when it was done, it looked like one person had done it, and that's unusual, because sculptors, artists, we have our own style, but it worked out well. I guess they liked what they saw, and they asked if I would do it, and I'm honored to be able to do this every year.
And your works are on display for the whole fair, right? People come and go and see them for the couple of weeks that the fair goes on. Right, yeah. 12 days of the fair. We've got a butterhead sitting there, and more. Every one I do, it's in that butter booth spinning around. So.
Right. And you had said that you do work with clay as well. Do you do any other mediums besides the butter and the clay?
As an art teacher, I need to be able to do everything. I need to teach my kids how to draw and teach my students how to paint and computer graphics. So I do a little bit of everything, but my specialty is the sculpture, and clay. Clay is my favorite medium next to butter.
I see. And outside of the the head mural or the bust that you make with the butter, what kind of sculptures are you making with the clay? Are you doing more portraits or more abstract things?
Pretty much it's by commission, so whatever people want. I worked for many years as a freelance artist for Brodian Studios, and they make large bronze monuments to police officers, firemen who have fallen in the line of duty. They did a bunch of other things. They're branching out now, and so through them I've had the opportunity to make some things that are cast in bronze and put all over the world. There was some statues we worked on down in Fort Hood, Texas. Probably the furthest away is a group that we had in the Congo. So it did a little bit of everything.
When you're doing these, do you feel, Gerry, that you've had anybody who's reached out to you because of what they saw you do with the butter sculptures at the Minnesota State Fair and said, I would like to commission you to do a project for me?
Yes. Yeah. The fair has opened up a lot of commissions. I've been very busy with commissions lately, and I think it's mostly because of the exposure at the fair.
That's a great place for it to happen. And
It really is.
one thing that, go ahead, Justin, if you've got a question.
Oh, no, I was just adding on to that it's a great spot to get the exposure. I mean, I can only imagine how much media attention you get there at the largest fair in Minnesota.
It's amazing, and what an honor to be the guy that's doing this. I'm so thankful and very, very proud to represent the dairy farmers of the state of Minnesota and around. Midwest Dairy isn't just Minnesota. Midwest Dairy encompasses many states.
And Gerry, we got an email from Michael. He wants to know, is there any support in the block, or is it solid butter?
Yeah, it's a solid block of butter. Yeah, there are the butter. There are a couple spikes like nails in the wood that the butter is sitting on, so that the butter doesn't slide off. And other than that, it's just a solid chunk of butter. 90 pounds.
Wow. What's a 90-pound block of butter cost?
Yeah, that's the other thing. That
I can't imagine it's cheap.
Right. Yeah. Well, you look at how much a pound of butter is in the grocery store and multiply that by 90. But it's all donated by AMPI from New Ulm. They donate the 10 blocks of butter every year, and that's extraordinary in itself. I mean, that's a huge expense, and I honestly don't think they get enough credit for doing that.
Well, I'm just curious if a cheese processor is going to give them a run for their money and ask you to do it in cheese next time instead of just butter.
Well, my predecessor, Linda Christensen, was asked to do some cheese sculptures as well, and she had done this butter sculpting thing for 50 years, so she has a lot of experience, and she did some cheese sculpting and gave me some tips on how to do that and what kind of cheese works best. So we'll see if that ever happens. I don't know.
Okay, now I want a cheese sculpture for my next event. There's just no way around it. I'm going to have that.
I've had people ask about doing sculptures for their events, and a lot of times they don't take into account that butter melts, and so when they have an event in July, they want me to do a butter sculpture in July, and I can't do it unless they have a refrigerated area that I can work in for a while. So, but it's there's all kinds of possibilities. So I'm open to commissions.
Good to know. And Gerry, as we wind down in our last few minutes together, are you a farm kid as well? Did you grow up on a dairy farm in Minnesota?
I didn't grow up on a dairy farm, but it was a grain farm. And in fact, my mom, we made butter and made homemade bread when I was growing up. And so we got all our milk from my uncle's farm just down the road. And so we'd play on their farm, play with the cousins, and help out once in a while on that farm as well.
Well, this conversation has truly warmed my dairy farmer's daughter's heart. Dad would be so happy to know that I finally got to talk to the guy who carved the Princess K of the Milky Way sculptures. That's pretty awesome. And now I kind of want a baked potato after all of this discussion about butter.
A lot of butter on it, right. Well,
a lot of butter, maybe some cheese.
Right. This has been an honor for me, so thank you for getting me involved here. And I just want to shout out again to the farmers. They're the hard workers that make all this possible.
Well, Gerry, what if folks want to contact you? Where can they visit your designs and visit with you more closely?
The best way to contact me is through my website, kulzerdesign.com. That's KULZERDESIGN.com.
That sounds awesome. Well, welcome to your Christmas vacation break. I hope you enjoy it. And we've had a fabulous time visiting with you. Thank you for taking the time to do that today. And Folks, thanks for listening. We are not going away yet. We're going to catch up with the American Ag Network. We're going to hear what they have to say on the markets, and then we will be back to recap weather and also talk about why were farmers having to dump their milk over the holiday season when roads were closed, etc. We'll talk about that next.
Polls keep showing a very tight race between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis. This could be the biggest political battle ever. Now Newsmax wants to know what you think. They're conducting an urgent poll asking if President Trump should continue his run for president again. Or is DeSantis better? Vote in the Newsmax poll on Donald Trump. All you need to do is text the word ZONE to 39747. Again, that's the word ZONE to 39747. Let your voice be heard. I watch Newsmax for the news I can trust. Newsmax is carried on every major cable system. If your cable system doesn't carry them, call them and demand it. Be sure to vote a Newsmax poll on whether Trump should run again. Text ZONE to 39747. That's ZONE to 39747. And make the switch to Newsmax. You won't look back.
Hey Fargo Moorhead, let us introduce ourselves. We're Brockmere Talent Stone, and we invite you to sprint on over to our amazing new showroom. You'll be pumped to see the countertops you can score. Brockmere Talent Stone has a selection of 10 stock quartz colors to offer a streamlined process and quick turnaround time. Brockmere Talent Stone, just south of Costco on Veterans Boulevard.
And yeah, we have white quartz with gray veining.
Granite and quartz, it's what we do, baby.
Hello, this is Elise Pucklich, and as another year winds down, all of us at Pucklich and Valley City want to thank you for your business. It's true that this time of the year, giving really is better than receiving. And during Chevy's Red Tag event, we're giving you special event savings on our largest Chevy inventory in months. So from our family to yours, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from everyone at Pucklich Chevrolet Buick GMC in Valley City. Have a safe and joyous holiday season.
March corn trading near its highest prices in a month. For the American Ag Network, I'm Richard Risva with this closing market. All three grains started the day in the green. However, soybeans were the leader early on, but they did pare back some of their gains. While the wheat saw some strength early on today, however, Chicago wheat did pull back and even trade into the red today. Soybean meal also started trading lower around midday. While the livestock sector is mixed with fats and feeders lower and hogs up sharply. China has downgraded the COVID-19 virus from a Category A infectious disease to a Category B disease. That's effective January 8th, while stating that it will also remove all inbound travel restrictions into the country that are related to COVID. Now, these are considered to be the final steps necessary to move past the pandemic toward an open economy. That's after essentially being closed for the past 3 years. Now, commodities such as crude oil, soybeans, pork, corn, cotton, and other commodity prices pushed higher today on reports that those areas of Beijing that were first hit by the current COVID outbreak are seeing long lines again at subway stations and restaurants, suggesting that people are eager to get out again after they recover from the virus, and that should be good for demand for commodities moving forward here. Traders are going to want to pay close attention to today's closing numbers, as it may have implications for where we go from here, particularly in the soybean market, which probed above significant chart resistance in the $15 area. That area has largely contained prices over much of the past 6 months. Let's get a look at the closing market numbers. March corn up 8.5 at 674 3/4. January beans up 3 1/4 at 1482 1/4. Bean meal January down 350 a ton at 451.80. Bean oil January up 172 at 67.65. Wheat Chicago March down 1.5 at 774 1/2. Kansas City March up 4.5 at 879 1/4. And the March Minneapolis wheat, that was up 3.5 at 935 1/4. Live cattle February up 12 at 157.87. Feeders January down 90 at 183.10. And the February lean hogs, they are up 365 at 91.47. For the American Ag Network, I'm Richard Ristvet.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus, 1:51 in this afternoon. Thanks for rejoining us. We were just speaking with Gerry Kulzer, the butter sculptor down at the Minnesota State Fair for the Miss Dairy Pageant down there. Oh man, that was a fun conversation to have with Gerry, and his information will be tagged on this if you want to go back and maybe reach out to him and have him carve you in butter. It's all a possibility. But meteorologist Justin Storm with Ag Director Bridgette Readel and Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki. And before we take a look at what national weather's doing around the nation, Bridgette, we got to know what was going on with all the milk that was being dumped over the holiday break and over the past few weeks and so with all the roads being closed. What can you tell me about that?
So this was a great listener question. This came from Jen, and she just said, why are folks having to dump so much milk right now over the holiday season? Well, all the storms that we had, how many days in this month have roads been closed, nearly impassable, or no travel advised, etc.? Well, there's been a lot. Most dairy farms have bulk tanks on site to store, but they generally can only store about 2 days worth of milk. And your cows don't stand in the back and go, oh, you don't have room for me? No problem. I'll just hold it. They got to be milked. They can't wait, or they do wind up with infections, etc. So it's best that we continue to milk on a timely schedule. Sometimes that means if there's not enough room in the bulk tank and your trucks literally can't get there because roads are closed, you will have to do some dumping of fresh product. It's a perishable. Food and Drug Administration requires that there are only so many days and or hours that you can hold raw milk before it has to be dumped or disposed of. And so that's our biggest reason why it's happened. Additionally, I think it's important for folks to realize that sometimes your processing plants may also get kind of a backup if you can't get people into work and you can't get product there. And so dairy farmers are having those discussions with their insurance agents if they can consider that a loss and have some sort of recovery economically for it. But overall, those are some of the reasons why it's happening. So does that help, Justin? Is that a pretty good explanation for you?
Oh, that definitely does. And I think there was a little bit more to that as well. I don't know if it was the same person who asked the question, but they had a similar question about what's going on with the grain elevator fires.
This was a different listener who asked. This was Sylvia who sent the email wondering why are there so many elevator fires these days? And I think first and foremost, we're paying more attention. We are hearing them. Grain elevator fires are not uncommon, especially in older structures that if you didn't know, you might be surprised to realize that they are made of wood. And oftentimes in those older elevators, you have a buildup of fines like from sunflower dust or soybean dust, and it's highly flammable. If anything happens, if you're doing routine maintenance, maybe you have folks who are unfamiliar with the safety procedures and some combustion can happen, or you have hot stored grain, you can see a fire. And what brings this most to light is when there are large facilities that have fires like the one that recently occurred over in Michigan, where that elevator fire went on for several days. When you have that many millions of bushels of grain that's burned, it just continues to smoke and smolder for a long period of time. You really don't get that fire out for quite a while. And so we're seeing older structures under maintenance that have caught fire. We're seeing a higher elevation of priority in the public eye, that we're paying attention to them. So I just don't think they're uncommon. We've seen them a lot over the years. Maybe we're just watching for them more closely now.
I see. Yeah. Deanie over there with the tinfoil yet?
Almost.
Just about. I was wondering.
I got the Reynolds wrap under the counter here. I was going to bring it out.
I saw they cut your video feed, so I didn't know if you were putting the tinfoil hat on or not.
Well, I've got a question for Bridgette real quick. So, Bridgette, I sent you that article, and I was reading through that, and boy, there's a Tennessee dairy farmer, and
Stephanie Nash.
Yeah, she's predicting the worst food shortages, higher prices in 2023. Due to inflation, drought, and interest rate hikes. Is this something to be seriously worried about? Are we worrying about this a little too soon, or is this going to be reality as we head into next year?
Well, I don't think we're going to see food inflation come down. That we can see. And just as you mentioned, that comes along with interest rates, et cetera. CoBank just released a study, and they're one of the largest agricultural lenders in the country. CoBank was saying that right now they expect a recession to begin early in 2023 that will negatively affect the farm economy overall. We know that some of the short-term loans that are having to be taken out by farmers are at extremely high interest rates. We are not seeing a softening in our input costs, whether it be through fertilizer or equipment, any of those types of things. So you do have, especially in the dairy sector, you've got some folks that just simply can't pay their bills because there's so much going on. And with the drought that happens in the western part of the United States, we talked earlier in this hour about dairy farms moving out of California. Well, it's not just going to affect dairy. We're also seeing the lowest numbers of beef herds in the U.S. because the western U.S. is under a drought. And so a lot of people emptied their pastures in order for the pastures to recover. There wasn't enough feed. We saw a lower winter wheat crop and a lower corn crop across parts of the nation. All of those are going to affect our supply. Will our store shelves be empty? Doubtful, but it's going to be at a higher cost because we know how supply and demand works.
Now, would the new farm bill help at all?
We can hope so. And we'll have lots of discussions about the new farm bill. If we don't get one passed by September of 2023, all of our current farm bill will revert to the original farm bill, which was built in the 1930s during the Dust Bowl. So it is in Congress's best interest to update the farm bill as soon as they can. And remember, 86% of the farm bill is related to food nutrition benefits, school lunch programs, and other domestic programs. It's not just about the farm, but both go hand in hand.
Right.
Sounds like a lot of things to keep track of there, Bridgette. We can only hope that things get better on all those ends.
We're going to continue to pay close attention to those things. And Dean, that article you sent was based off of Stephanie Nash. She's a dairy farmer in Tennessee, and she's also a very big ag advocate. If you're looking for someone to follow on social media, she would be a great person to.
And she's young. She's young too, 29, I think. And she was saying in that article that the family farm, if this continues, that the family farm is going to go by the wayside, which that would be terrible.
Right. Those smaller dairy farms are really having a lot of pressure on them, right, with all of the higher costs, et cetera. So it's been very difficult for them to keep up with these mega farms that are milking, 10,000 head.
And Justin, we've got, 45 seconds? You want to take a national weather?
Oh, yeah, we can take a stab at it, see if we can get the lightning round out of here in 30 seconds. What we're looking at for this week across the United States, got some on-ocean flow coming in off the Pacific over the California area, the Rockies. That's going to bring in some much-needed moisture across the western portion of the state. As that system tracks a little further inland through the middle portion of our week, we're watching for two pieces of energy to be tracking through the U.S., one through the southern plains, one through the northern plains along the North Dakota and Canadian border stretching into Minnesota. That will bring a slight chance for some rain, snow combination throughout the central United States. And then after that, things go pretty quiet into the upcoming weekend, and that should lead into some pretty nice conditions for mostly everybody. But that'll do it for us here on Weather and Ag in Focus today. Join us tomorrow, 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The Jay Thomas Show is coming up next.
970 WDAY.